Judah said, I'm Janelle Archer. I'm a digital marketing specialist here at BigWing, and I'm also the chair for the digital marketing conference that BigWing presents called Confluence Conference. As she said, it's on September 20th and 21st this year at the Tower Theater, and we're really excited about it. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about event marketing and kind of some strategies that I've used over the years to market events. So a little bit about me. I actually did not get started in advertising. I got started in the events industry. I knew that I wanted to work in events since I was about 16 years old when I got wrangled into working a fundraising event in high school that ended up winning some national awards and making a really big difference in the community. And I, from that moment on, fell in love with events and knew that it was something that I wanted to do. In college, I went to go study mass communications at the University of Central Oklahoma and took an internship in 2014 at a little district of the city called the Plaza District. In 2014, the Plaza District was still very much growing, but I could always find a parking spot, and it was very different than what it was now. So I was doing communications and events for them, which is a lot of fun, and that's when I really kind of fell in love with Oklahoma City and the arts community in Oklahoma City. After that internship was over, I moved on down the street to the Chesapeake Energy Arena and the Cox Convention Center, working for an event management company called SMG. They manage most major arenas around the world. So I got to work Thunder Games, concerts, trade shows, all kinds of corporate events. It was less on the creative side, more on the work order strategic side. And then after that, I took another job working corporate events as well. And I also did a little bit of marketing in that job. So around that time, I had kind of decided that while I loved corporate events, I didn't want it to be my main day job anymore. I still wanted to work in events, but I really was starting to fall in love with the marketing and advertising side of things. Fortunately, a little company called BigWing sponsored the corporate event that I was working on, and they had a job opening. So I applied for it, and in the interview realized that they presented a little conference that I was familiar with called Confluence, and I really wanted to be a part of that. So we were interviewing, talking about marketing and advertising and my experience in that, and then Confluence came up, and I was like, do you need an event coordinator? And everything kind of just fell into place from there, and I've been here ever since. So this will be my third Confluence that I've worked on, and I will be the chair this year. So it's a lot of fun. This is actually a picture from my very first Plaza District event, and that's a picture from my very first Confluence. So I'm gonna kind of go over your event marketing game plan from start to finish today. So I'm gonna kind of talk about the prep work that needs to be done before the event in order to make your marketing strategy really solid, to get attendees, to get people to really advocate for what you're trying to do, up into the event itself, which your marketing's not done when the event's going on. There's a lot of engagement that needs to happen during the event in your marketing strategy, and then all of the prep work that you need to do after the event for the next year. So let's get started on talking about before the event. So before the event is kind of in my opinion, the craziest time, because it's when you really need to set a really solid foundation for your strategy. If this is the first time you've ever done a particular event, or if you've done the event for a long time and maybe you need to reevaluate who you are as a brand, whether that be for your organization or for your events brand, I highly recommend getting a team together. I don't think that any event marketing, no event should be done alone, but I don't think the event marketing should be done alone either. So don't just leave it to one marketing specialist to market your event. And bounce around ideas for what is your big idea. Your big idea should be the one major thing that you want people to take away from your event or from your marketing strategy or from your messaging. A few months ago, about a year ago now, we had sat down to talk about this for Confluence. Confluence is several years old now, but because we've done the event so long, we had felt that maybe the branding needed a little bit more redefining as we move forward. So something that the team and I discussed, we talked for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours about this, was who we are, what we want people to take away from our event. So kind of the messaging that we came up with moving forward was, we are thought leaders empowering digital marketers to build innovative and comprehensive campaigns. Is this messaging, is that exact quote in every single thing we put out on our marketing? No, but this is what we're trying to convey when we pick our speakers, when we do our marketing, when we have attendees attend the event. We want them to feel that, and we want them to feel like there is a community being built. And I think that this can be done with any event, especially, nonprofit events. What do you want people to take from your nonprofit? How do you want people to feel so they feel compelled to give money at your fundraising event or at your conference? So how do you use that big idea to influence your attendees during your marketing? A thorough SWOT analysis is also good, especially if your event is more than 1 year old. What worked well last year, what hasn't worked in the past, what's worked well for events that are similar to yours, and who are threats to you, and what are they doing that you could be doing better. So sitting down and having these conversations is a really good way to kind of kickstart the promotion of your event. Once you kind of have your base idea down for what you want to do to promote your event, I definitely recommend making a schedule. If you are working a very scheduled event, I think, especially if it's a big event, then diving into Hootsuite or Sprout Social or whatever scheduling tool that you're using and scheduling out posts ahead of time if you can is definitely, I think, the best thing to do. For example, I also do the event social media for Dead Center Film Festival, which is a local film festival in Oklahoma City. That's quite a large event. It's multi-track, multiple movies are playing at multiple different theaters all at the same time. And there's a lot of moving parts. And the first year I did it all by myself, which was a very large undertaking. And so I needed to figure out a way to make sure that every movie was talked about over social media, every filmmaker felt included, and everybody that was attending kind of knew what was going on outside of just looking at the schedule. So it took a couple of hours, but going through and listing out the schedule, this is kind of a little example of what I did, listing out the schedule and then developing tweets and what time they were coming out for each movie, and then taking the time to research what were the director's Twitter handles, what's the movie's Twitter handle, and putting those in each of the posts and then scheduling them out. They used Hootsuite, so scheduling them out on Hootsuite really saved a lot of time during the event where I wasn't having to run all the way across Bricktown to post things. I was able to spend more time covering events and taking photos, and I didn't have to worry about the movies being covered on social media because we had already done that. And especially most tweet schedulers have a mobile-friendly app, so if there ever was a change, it was just really easy to pull up my phone and change that on mobile. Facebook ads. So Facebook ad targeting before your event is a really huge opportunity, and there are lots and lots of ways and strategies to make this work for you. The number one would be if you have the Facebook pixel installed onto your website. It's just a snippet of code that you can install from your website from Facebook for free. It can track the audiences from your website and convert them into a Facebook audience, and you can make sales funnels this way. So something that you can do through the Facebook pixel is if somebody goes to your website to register to your event and they get to your event page and then they bounce, you can serve them an ad through the data that the Facebook pixel takes from your website through Facebook. So you can still be kind of reminding them, hey, don't forget to register. We know you hit this page. Another thing that you can do is if you have an email list already that you're using for the event, you can take that email list and put that into Facebook Ad Business Manager, and it can create a lookalike audience for you. So you're not sending an ad to the people who are already invested into your event, but Facebook is finding profiles with accounts very similar to the people who are already invested in you in terms of interest, location, demographics, and they're serving an ad to those people because there's a really good chance that they might be interested in your event as well. Also, just honing in on, if you already have a targeted audience, honing in on different traits of people who might be interested based on if they've attended a similar event. So for Confluence, if somebody's attended another local digital marketing or marketing conference, we want to serve them an ad because they're probably interested in what we're doing. Or if they're engaging with the sponsor, if somebody likes, Oklahoma T-shirt Company is one of our sponsors, so if somebody likes Oklahoma Shirt Company's page, then we can serve them an ad saying, hey, or any of our sponsors, hey, we know you like this sponsor, they're going to be at this conference. Or if they like a speaker or a musician that's going to be at your event, or a film, you can target them that way to hopefully reach people who might be interested in attending your event. Some additional targeting tactics can be serving ads based on location. For example, Confluence is going to be at the Tower Theater. So if we want to serve an ad, anybody hanging out around the Tower Theater for a month up to the event who maybe are hanging out at Pony Boy or at Scotty's Deli or going to a concert at the Tower, we can set an ad that the parameters are only in that building. So that anybody hanging out around the Tower Theater are getting an ad for Confluence. Or if your event happens in multiple places, if it's a big thing, you can target just based on that area for a month leading up or however long if you'd like to. And then video targeting. If you have B-roll from any previous events and you've been using it on Facebook to kind of show people what you've got going on for your event, you can also put that into Business Manager and target, hey, somebody watched 50, 75% of this video, let's serve them another ad on top of that because they're clearly already interested. So those are all little things that you can do as far as Facebook ads go before your event to really hone in some engagement. Another fun thing to do, which doesn't cost money like Facebook ads does, which is nice, is getting the community involved. Great ways to do this are giveaways and discount codes, flash sales. Confluence did early bird tickets this year right after the event, and they sold out very quickly because people love a good flash sale. But one of our new things that we've been doing this year, which has worked really well for us, is doing a Twitter hashtag chat. So we, this year, have developed hashtag Confluence Chat, which is something that we do once a month. And we talk about a different aspect of digital marketing or for whatever event you're doing, whatever subject you'd like. And we want people to, we ask 5 questions over a span of 30 minutes, and we want people on Twitter to respond to those questions using our hashtag and kind of join a conversation. And it's been really successful, especially now that our speaker list is out. Speakers have really dived in and participated in the conversations, used the hashtags, and not only has it worked for in the moment, but we get even more engagement after the chat is over and people are going through Twitter later and liking and favoriting or liking and retweeting our tweets. Something we do for that to ensure we have some engagement is we write out the questions ahead of time and schedule them out. Question 1 will be out at 1:05, question 2 will be out at 1:10, and we kind of have a bank of people that we want to participate, and we send them the questions ahead of time if they want to schedule out their answers in a tweet scheduler earlier, or they can participate in real time. So that way we always have at least 1 or 2 people that we know are going to participate outside of the Confluence team. But a lot of times people also participate late, and that's fine because we want the conversation to keep going, and it has increased followership. And also submitting to community calendars. There are lots of just community calendars out there through news outlets or through family magazines, and it doesn't take long to just send a few logistics to the event out just to a few event calendars, and it gets you listed in another place online. Email marketing. So email marketing is a great way to communicate directly with your audience. People, it's not pay to play. People have signed up to receive these emails. It's going straight to them, as long as they're opted in. You can still track the engagement in Google Analytics if you use UTM codes in your email, so that way you can tell how many people hit a page or completed an action from your email directly. And this is also a really good place to share special offers that you might not necessarily want to share on social media. It's really good practice to make the email personal. So I don't necessarily always send the Confluence email, but the Confluence emails always come from Janelle at Confluence, or Janelle from Confluence. So, and my face is always on the email with my Twitter handle, just because it feels more personal. People are more likely to open an email from a person's name from Confluence than just Confluence Conference. And there's lots of fun things you can do in emails, like this little countdown thing that we put in there. It's really fun. Making your sponsors your partners. Your sponsors are so much more than people who fund your event. Your sponsors are already invested in you. They're literally putting money into your event and helping make it happen. So have fun with it. Make your sponsors feel included in your event. For example, this is one of my favorite examples, and this is from last year's Confluence. Saxum, a Oklahoma advertising agency, was a sponsor for us, and our theme for our event last year was throwback. So in partnership with us, Saxum used our hashtags and took these really fun 80s throwback pictures to hype everyone up for the conference. So it's kind of a fun way to get more people involved besides just your organization. It's great promotion for your event, and it's just really fun, really shareable content, and it gets a lot of engagement. So now that the prep work is done before the event, now you have to kind of tackle everything that's going to happen at you during the event, because people are going to ask questions and a lot's going to need to be covered, and you're going to want content, you're going to want evergreen content like photos to use for future years as well. So live social media is kind of the big thing. You want that coverage. This is where you really need to utilize a team of people, because there's going to be multiple things going on during the event, especially if it's a large event like a conference or a festival. You're going to want people in different places so that everything's getting covered, people are answering questions, and people are taking photos. Besides Facebook, Twitter's a little different. Besides Facebook and Instagram timeline posting, which is great, you don't want the timelines to get clogged, and because the algorithms will move it all out of order, and you don't want it to be too much. You don't want too much on your timeline. This is a great opportunity for Instagram stories. I'm a huge fan of Instagram stories, especially during events, because that way you can kind of cover the littler things that might not need to be on the timeline, but you still want covered. And Facebook Live. Facebook, it's not always a good time for Facebook Live, but if you have a big announcement or something really cool about to happen, Plaza District Festival, we did a flash mob. There are lots of really fun ways to use Facebook Live that are useful and worth the viewer's time. And having a plan for questions. Your attendees are going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to message you on Facebook, DM you on Twitter, Instagram, and a lot of the questions are probably things you've already answered in your marketing. If not, it's a good indicator to know what you need to market next. But having some canned responses ready for various frequently asked questions is always a good practice. It saves a lot of time. You can personalize it later, but if somebody's asked you what time a certain speaker is going to go on, even though you've already announced it, it's nice to just have those answers already ready and canned, so you're able to just fire off the answers really quickly, and it leads to good conversation. Taking photos is probably, I would say, this should be one of your highest priorities. Hiring a photographer will be worth the money, especially if you're planning to do this event more than once. You will regret not having good photography. This will help immensely with your marketing. It's significantly harder to market an event with no photos that people don't know what's going on because you don't have any photos to show them. So having good quality photos, I think, is extremely important. But having team members take photos on their phones and including them in a shared document to use is also really helpful. So if you're at this big event and people are everywhere and someone has time to take photos, but you have another person that has time to design a photo and a post, but you're in different places, sharing them in a Google Doc or a Dropbox or a private Facebook group is a really good way to kind of share some teamwork and collaborate on the photo taking and post making. And then you can quickly do this and design and edit photos using Canva for mobile. Canva is a really fun free editing tool for photos, and you can do it on your phone. And you can kind of see this picture right here. When we have speakers speak, we'll take a photo of them as they're talking and pull a quote from their presentation in real time, put it into Canva, and we'll post it on Instagram within minutes before the speaker's even done talking. So it's really quick. And then you can also run social ads during your event. So the majority of your social ads should probably be done before your event, but there's still a time for social ads during your event to really remind people of a specific call to action. For example, if you're doing a charity event or a fundraising event for a nonprofit and there's a lot of live tweeting or posting going on from your audience, this is a really good opportunity to run an ad maybe on Twitter or on Facebook just for your location, just a location-based ad, so just for whatever location that you're in, to remind people, hey, we're so glad you're enjoying the event. Don't forget to donate, and provide a link to the donation page. Or, for example, we had a sponsor last year at Confluence that said, hey, Confluence Con, I hope you're enjoying the conference. We know you love digital marketing. We also love digital marketing and we're looking to hire people, apply today. So it was kind of a great way to remind attendees already there to complete an action while they're already on their phones. And so once the event is over, everything can kind of calm down, but there are still a few things that need to be done after the event to make sure that every bow is tied and that for the next year you can be ready to go again. The first and most important thing is to say thank you. Say thank you to your sponsors, say thank you to your team, say thank you to anybody that helped make the event happen. Do this in email, do this on social media, tag their accounts, let people retweet it. Just make sure that everybody knows that sponsors feel included. This is a great way to make sponsors want to do it again next year, but also make other people want to sponsor because they see how well that you treat your sponsors. And compiling your photos, especially if you hired a photographer, making sure that all of your photos are compiled in one place, like a Dropbox, organized by folder of different aspects of the event, so crowd shots, speaker shots, food, or whatever. That way, for the next year, when you start marketing your event again, you know where everything is, it's all organized, and you have a whole bank of photos to choose from. And then lastly, going over what worked and what didn't. Not everything is going to work all the time, and some things are going to work really, really well that you didn't expect, and some things that you expected to work really, really well maybe didn't work as well this time. So as soon as the event's over, at least a week after, sit down with your team and really discuss what should be changed and what should be kept the same and how things should be tweaked while it's fresh on your mind so that you can just improve your marketing strategy for the event in the future. So that's kind of my little rundown of marketing tactics for events, from before to during to after. There's lots of things that need to be done. But it's all really fun, and it's a great way to get the community involved in what you're doing and to get them excited and to really get them on board with what you're trying to do with your event. So do you have any questions? Yes?
So whenever you're planning the event and you're looking for sponsors and donors, what is a good way to approach people that say, like, you know of, or like, so like for my company, we do woodworking. Mm-hmm. So reaching out to like a sales rep, but what would be a good way to approach it where it's not, so it doesn't just sound like, hey, we want your money?
Yeah, personally, I love reaching out to sponsors. It's a really fun thing for me. What I like to do is, if you go up to a potential sponsor and say, I want your money, they're not going to feel compelled to do that. So I think you really need to take time to outline the benefit for the sponsor. So what we've done with Confluence is we have an ask sheet with not only stats of like who attends our event, and like we have 300 attendees, and we have this many people subscribe to our email list, and we have this many people subscribe to our Twitter, and these are the kind of speakers that we have. And then these are the benefits that we can give you. So we have this many Twitter followers, and your logo is going to go out. We're going to tweet about you this many times, or your logo is going to go out in an email once a month to this many subscribers. So I really try to lay out the benefit for the sponsor before anything else. The sponsor is going to be of great benefit to you as an event, but if the sponsor doesn't feel like they're going to get something out of it, they're not going to feel like it's worth the spend for them. So I think putting the sponsor first and really making sure that you can ensure them that they're going to be well taken care of is a really good way to get people on your side. But no problem. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you ever have issues that arise during the event or before the event, and you have a team that's prepared to take care of them, or how does that go about?
What issues are you referring to?
Like anything unexpected, like your food's not delivered correctly, or you have people that are saying negative things.
Yeah, so I'll use Dead Center as an example. It's a large event and there are a lot of moving parts, so sometimes, for example, we'll have a movie scheduled for a certain time, Okie shorts, they're always the most popular, and it gets full, but they want to have more people come, so they move to a bigger theater, so the timing gets delayed. So it's mostly mostly just being as transparent as possible on social media about, like, this thing's changed, this is what it's going to be, and just answering questions, because people will ask those questions, and just kind of making sure you've done your due diligence to get that information out there on social media. Also, we had an instance this year where someone in the community had kind of displayed some actions they didn't work with the festival, but they were involved. They had films there. They had displayed some actions that didn't align with the festival's values, and so that was kind of that was a lot of people. There was stirring the pot a little bit, and so kind of we were tweeting out the values of the organization and the nonprofit to be like, this is what we believe in, end of story. And that was received pretty well for people just saying like, hey, I respect you for stating your values and closing the conversation. So I think those things can be handled. There's no blanket answer for how to handle these kind of things, but I think that transparency is really important. And I think people just really want you to be transparent with them. Hopefully that answers your question.
I'll ask a follow-up on her question.
Yeah.
You said you did the first Confluence by yourself?
It was a film festival
Oh, the
by
first
myself.
film festival? Okay,
Yes.
so how big, how much are you, or how big of an audience do you have for that compared to the size of your team that you're going to do for Confluence this time with the expected audience?
The film festival has about 30,000 attendees every year. In Confluence, it's a completely different event, but it's a conference. We have about 300. So there's definitely a team for the film festival now.
Okay, how
Which
big is it then in relation to?
the team, just people doing social media, is about 5 people. For Confluence, just people doing social media is about 2 to 3. Any more questions? All right, thank you guys, and feel free to reach out to me. Follow me on Twitter at Janelle OKC. Confluenceconference.org is the Confluence website if you want to register for a ticket. We've worked really hard on it. I really hope to see you guys there. It's a lot of fun, and you can follow us on @ConfluenceCon. So thank you so much, everybody.